Hi, friends. Hope you're all doing amazing. I really hope everybody's having a great holidays if you celebrate any of that. And even if you don't, I still hope you're doing great. It doesn't have to be the holidays for you to have fun and enjoy life and all that good stuff, or so I hear at least. Today's video, I wanted to show you one of my faction war teams. It's not the most amazing team in the world. It's not a speedrun team. It's not anything crazy. It's just that one of my favorite parts of Raid is that there's a million ways to approach all of the content in the game, or at least some of it, and that's always my favorite content. Like, if you've watched some of my other videos, you know that I love going into a Doom Tower boss fight and trying to conquer it with only epics, only easily accessible champs, whatever it may be, just trying to do it in some way other than the established best way to do it or the perceived best way to do it. I really love doing stuff like that. I enjoyed struggle bussing my way through so much of the content in this game. And so the other day I was doing some faction wars. It was just running in the background while I was doing whatever. And I looked at my Sacred Order team and I was kind of like, this isn't really your traditional Sacred Order team, but it works and I like it. And so I just thought I'd show it to you guys because, again, just showing here are champs that work in this situation. Watching it, even if you don't have the champs, even if you don't have all of them, I hope it gives you ideas for looking at your own team and just understanding that, wow, there are a million ways to do this, and here's one of them, and hopefully you can look at your account and your champs and figure out some way to conquer it. Here we go. This is my team, and as you can see, this is like a 3-minute, almost 4-minute, I guess, video. It's not super quick, but it is, nobody dies, so it does get the 3-star rating, and I don't really have anything else to say, except here we go. As you can see, you'll definitely recognize the champs. I've got 2 Deacon Armstrongs. A lot of people probably don't have 2 Deacon Armstrongs. I do. It's got Armiger, the uncommon, so that's cool, right? We're throwing the what is it? The only good uncommon in the game. We're throwing him into the mix. I've got Shamil, who I did a separate video on. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about him, that does exist. And a last person is just level 50 Glazea Soul Glide. I don't even know if you guys know who that is. They added her a couple years ago, and she was supposed to be kind of a counter to Warlord, who was really dominant at the time because none of her skills can be placed on cooldown. But if you've played Arena lately or looked at Arena, you're probably still seeing a lot of Warlords and you're not seeing any Glazea Soul Glides. So that didn't work. There's no way to shut down Warlord Yumeko. Those champions are so much better than her. So she's sort of just, I pulled her randomly when I was new. I slapped some gear on her. I will look at the gear for all of these champs at the end. I don't even know what I have on her, so we can all be mutually surprised and interested in the gear at the same time because it's probably going to be really bad. It's just going to be throwaway gear from a year ago. But basically, the reason this team works is that I just have too much turn meter control. They can't handle it. I've got 2 Deacons and he's got his signature ability. We're going to decrease the turn meters of the enemies. We're going to increase our own team's turn meters. I can do that twice. I've got Armiger, who can decrease turn meter on his A1, and then interestingly enough, he has a block revive on his A2, and these minions here can be revived. So it all just works weirdly well for this boss fight. I don't know if, RNG, if we're gonna actually block revive on any of the summons, but that does happen sometimes. And then Shamil, his passive is that he'll instantly remove any fears from your team, right? So this is the boss that fears you. So we've got Shamil, so none of us can actually be feared. That's a huge help. We're sustaining ourselves with Deacon's Leech. You can see here we've got decreased defense. Glazea, who has gear from a year ago, has somehow managed to place a weaken. That's her doing weaken. So somehow, even though this team looks really weird and we don't really have any damage dealers, we just have a bunch of turn meter control. It does all sort of come together and give me everything I need, and it works. I don't even know. And when I beat this boss for the first time, I didn't even have Shamil. I was struggling through it. I think I had like just some other person with gear to make them tanky enough to survive, and then I did the boss fight with just that, because Shamil is a really recent addition to my account, but I did this boss forever ago, so you can definitely struggle bus it. That's the team. 329. 251 is my best. So again, this is not a speed team. I know there are people who come in here with Venus and Cupidus and they just drop this boss in 30 seconds, I'm sure, but I'm not that blessed, so I'm happy for them, but I'll stick with my epics and my uncommon and my level 50 niche random Lego that I pulled randomly a long time ago. We can go in and take a closer look at everybody's gear if you're interested. Like I said, I've got 2 Deacons. They're both serving completely different purposes on my account. I did maybe a weird thing. Maybe it wasn't the smartest thing. I don't really know. It's in the past. No point regretting it. I'm happy with it, I guess. Basically, what happened is when you're in the early game, before you have other turn meter boosters, before you get Arbiter, etc., Deacon is probably, especially because they did a promo code for him, or it might even still be running. They've been doing like an ongoing promo code for him for a long time for new players. And he's an amazing champ. So when I was new, he was the lead on like every single team I had, like every boss, every wave, every dungeon, every Doom Tower wave. Deacon was my lead. So obviously built as fast as I could at the time. Haven't really updated this gear in a while. Like, I know, when you think about Arbiter, you definitely want to be going 300 plus, but for all of the content I use him for, this is fine. 283, he's still the lead in all of my Doom Tower hard teams, and 283 is enough to go first in every fight. And I have done all the waves, on all the rotations, on all the difficulties. That still works for me. And because I was still am using Deacon as the lead in my Doom Tower waves, I didn't want to lose the speed. So when I finally built my clan boss team, which is Myth Air, it's a 1-key Ultra Nightmare team. Oops, sorry. So here's me. 78 million damage, it's like 71 for the 1-key, so we're not doing anything crazy, but we're hitting it. And Deacon is part of this team. So when I built this team a few months back, I had to look at myself and I had to say, do I want to rip apart my Deacon, or do I want to just build a new Deacon and keep using the other one? As you can see from the fact that I have 2 Deacons, clearly I chose the second option. So first Deacon is just the super speedy, enough accuracy to apply a debuff in a Doom Tower hard wave. So, 283, like 400-ish accuracy. That's where we're at with him. And then I've got this super, super slow, the 185, which is not the speed you think of when you think of your Deacon, but that's the speed that he needs to be to work in the Myth Air speed team for my Ultra Nightmare CB team. And then because he's slow and he cannot be killed because he has block damage on him at all times in the fight, what you do with all those champions in an unkillable CB team is you build them with as much attack and crit rate and crit damage as possible. So that's kind of fun. I've got like a damagey Deacon. I mean, 3600 attack, that's nothing out of this world. 100% crit rate, 205% crit damage. It's nothing crazy, but you can see during the fight, like he does some damage. And he's still got enough accuracy to apply a debuff to the clan boss, because we do still have our decreased defense. So those are my two Deacons. And this is going to be another build that I haven't looked at in a long time. Armiger. I think he's the only good uncommon in the game. I built him when I was in the early stages of my account, and he helped in stuff like Fire Knight. He was in a really early rendition of my Fire Knight team. I actually used him in Fire Knight 20 for quite a while before I got a better team. And I'm not using him anywhere currently except for like secret rooms, like Cursed City, where you have to dig into your pocket with a lot of champs, and then of course the faction wars. The gear, I don't even know. He's got 193. The reason he's good is because he's got this amazing A1, which will decrease turn meter by 30%, which is really good if the attack is critical. And then the A2, attack one enemy, it's a block revive, which again, like for your uncommon to have like a block revive, that's really cool. So he's a surprisingly good champion. It's probably just the crit rate gloves. Yeah. So it's just basic kind of early mid-game speed crit rate gear. I did not spec into the damage at all. I just went for the turn meter control alone. I think this stuff can actually hit decently hard. Oh, right, it's a max HP hit. Okay, so yeah, the crit damage is good. I have a lot of accuracy on him. I'm not sure why I have that much. Probably not necessary. As you can see by the gear, I've probably just stolen his pieces over time and tried to replace them as I was building other max HP hitters. Royal Guard was an early one I had. Cold Heart. I'm sure I stole it all and they have it, and I just sort of kept him at the minimum that he needs to be useful. So that's my build for him. And then Shamil, like I said, I have done a full video on him if you're interested in what I do with him or more in depth about the build. But he's my buff tank in Hydra. So he has 500 plus accuracy. He's very slow because the point of the buff tank is that you don't want their buffs to expire. You want them to always, at all times, have the most buffs of anyone on your team, so they get targeted by the Head of Mischief. And then he has so much resistance that the Head of Mischief fails to steal my buffs, barring bad RNG. So pray in that case, because it can still happen. But tanky to survive, HP, defense, resistance, and slow. So not super exciting build. It's not damage. He is an attack champ, but that's the direction that I took him in to be useful in my Hydra team. And I think we are on the last person, the long-awaited level 50 Glazea Soul Glide. We will see what's on her. She's only been ascended twice. Okay, yeah, so it's like early game perception, 5-star rare, 5-star rare accuracy boots. Stuff's not really leveled. I think 185, so that's not terrible. You can tell that I just sort of slapped the minimum. That's not bad, honestly. I mean, that's a 6-star Lego, so clearly I must have put that on it some other time. I don't remember doing that. It was probably a long time ago, but it looks like I just tried to get her to the point where she could do some of this stuff. The freeze, the weaken, block debuffs for my team. Not booked or anything. Gear's not leveled. Haven't looked at her in a long time, but she was on that team, so I am showing you the gear. And that's all I really had to say. I just wanted to show you guys my sort of unconventional, I don't know if that's the right word, team because it's not like there's anything super crazy on there. You know, these are all good champions, but just the fact that it works so well without any crazy Legos, and especially without a reviver, I think is worth showing. Because I know when some people approach Faction Wars, the first thing they're thinking about is a healer reviver, but you can... I've made it through quite a few of them without one, so it's definitely possible. And let's just look at... So that was Sacred Order. You know, there are a ton of amazing Legos that you could have in that faction. I just got a couple. There's Glazea, who we saw. Bavald of the Thorn, I haven't done anything with him yet. And then Archbishop Pinthray, I pulled him last week, 2 weeks ago, in the 2X Ancients. So he's completely new to me. He's super good, but haven't done anything with him yet. But yeah, there's Cardiel, Venus, Cupidus. There's a lot of amazing champs in this faction. A lot of good epics. Godseeker, Neri, Shamil. I guess there's not that many good epics. There's some though. Look at, I still don't have Mordecai. If you have Mordecai, you use him. But again, I hope you guys are having a great holiday and just great everything in general. Thanks for spending a little time with me, taking a look at my Sacred Order team. And you guys enjoy the rest of your week and take care of yourselves. Goodbye.